going to be taking a look at how we can list our directory content. So listing files within Linux connection to my server as my standard user. I can see my current directory, and that's indicated with the tiled or squiggly line. That should be my home directory, but we can also use the command pwd. Pwd will then give me the full path through my home directory /home/jack. In Linux, we use the / here as our path separator. Remember, everything is a case sensitive. I can use the command ls to list my content. When I get my listing, by default we are actually getting color coding. If I use the command type ls, we will see that even though I might think that I am running the command ls, I am actually running it with options. So I am running the command ls --color = auto. I happen to have an alias that's created with my login script by default to give me a common option that I might want. With this, then I can see the directories because they're shown in blue. We will see this more clearly when I use ls-a to list all, including hidden files. We can see then I have got some files that are just colored black and some files that are color blue. These are my directories. The blue coloring indicates our directories. The regular black files are ordinary files. If we did not have color coding, we could use the option F with the ls. We will see now that when I get my listing, we can see my directories because they are shown with the / at the end of the name. It's really easy to be able to distinguish what I am looking at. Remember them. The ls-a is listing all files, and the F option is then showing the file type. We can see with the R listing that I get to see what hidden files. A hidden file or directory just begins with a dot. We can see all of those files that are additionally showing when we use -a are then listing the hidden files. Everything then has a dot in front of it. Some of those are directories and some of those are ordinary files. I am going to use Ctrl L to clear my screen. If I wanted to look at directory that had a little bit more content, let's go through and do an ls/etc. The etc directory is the server configuration directory. When I get a listing here, we can see then that we have got a lot more files and directories. We have a different type of file as well. We can see that in fact some light blue files, and these are symbolic links. Let me clear the screen, up arrow key again, and do the ls-F. So we get to see the file type. We can see the symbolic links. Here are few symbolically linked directories. We can see here all of these then have the @ symbol at the end. This is an indication, as is the light blue color, that these are symbolic links. As we start working our way through, we can see that we get different types of files. Again, I'm just going to use Ctrl L to clear this out. One of the things that we can do with our listing, our ls-l/etc, is to get a long listing. Within the long listing, among other things, I get to see the permissions, the file size, the ownership, and the modified type. I'm just going to use Ctrl L to clear the screen. If I want to see files that have been modified most recently, the option -L is giving me then the extra metadata. R then is allowing me to reverse my sort, and T is specified that I want to sort on the time stamp field. The RT is then reverse sorting, so it's going to be the most recently modified files that are shown last. When we look at that, Then we can see that it's my result.conf. This is to do then with my name resolution. Generally, this is going to change every time that the network starts. This is the most recently edited file. If I clear this out again and include another option, let's just put H. H will put the file size in human readable format. We have got small files that's easy to see, but when we get into larger elements like a directory here, then it shows us 4K. If I want to look at a directory rather than the contents of a directory, let's go through and do an ls minus L and D for the etc directory. I will list the contents of the etc directory, but including the D, we're just going to list the etc directory itself. We can see the permissions blocks. That is the leftmost as we look in at the screen. The D, the very leftmost character of R. This is the part that indicates the file type is a directory. Then we have got the permission blocks. Here we can see the number of hard links that we have this directory. We will be talking more about links, both hard and soft, later. As we start to move on, we can look at the ownership. We have the username, the user owner being root, and the group owner also being root. We have got then the file size and then the last modified time of this directory. If we want to look at a directory rather than the contents of a directory, we can use ls-d. Here we have got the long listing, just so we get to see the metadata as well. When we come back in the next video, we're going to be looking at how we can identify different type files and where those file types belong in Linux. See you in the next video.